Hello, peace seekers. This is Saniqua White popping in to give you a piece of my mind that will hopefully give you some peace of mind. And today I want to talk about coping strategies and coping in general. So, the first question I want to ask you is, do you have any coping strategies? Next question is, what are they? And the third question is, are they positive or negative? So, do you have any that you're aware of? Because if you don't have any that you use intentionally, then you may be relying on coping mechanisms, which are more like reflexes or things that your brain or your body naturally does to try to protect itself. So if you're just functioning off of coping mechanisms, you're probably not living very well. You're probably not doing a good job at resetting yourself mentally and emotionally and taking care of yourself mentally and emotionally. So, in case you don't have any coping strategies, I want to get into what those are. And I want you to be able to get to the point where all of your coping strategies are positive intentionally. So let's start with negative coping strategies. Now, in a previous video, I mentioned some of these. So when you think of negative coping strategies, what you want to consider is if it eventually harms you, if it'll eventually harm anybody else, and if it is temporary. Those are probably going to be negative if you can answer those questions yes. If it's going to harm you eventually, yes. If it's going to harm someone else eventually, yes. And is it temporary? Yes. Those are likely negative coping strategies. So some of those examples would be sex, drugs, alcohol, gambling, shopping, eating. So none of those things in moderation and spread out are bad. But if that is what you're using in order to cope with life, when some tragedy hits or just some inconvenience or whatever happens in your life, because life is not going to stop happening so that we can do well. We're going to have to intentionally figure out how to do well in life. So if you're using sex, drugs, alcohol, gambling, eating, or shopping as a way for you to cope with life, you're on a slippery slope because those will lead to addiction. And you don't want to be addicted to anything except air. And I got this from Tony Gaskins, so y'all don't say that I'm stealing that. I got that from Tony Gaskins. But if you're addicted to anything besides air and sleep, then you're on a slippery slope. So listen, now some people can go cold turkey when they're trying to get out of an addiction, but that's rare to be able to do that. Most of us will need to replace the negative coping strategy with a positive one. So let's jump over to talking about what a positive coping strategy might be. And I'll start off by giving you what mine are. One of mine is swimming. Another is reading. Another is writing. And another is simply watching movies that I've seen on repeat because that just relaxes my mind. I don't have to think about it. I know what's coming next because I've seen the movie 100 times. So for me, that's a positive coping strategy, especially when I finish talking to all of my clients throughout the day. My brain is tired. So I just want to figure out how to relax. And watching reruns of movies is one way for me to do it. I prefer to swim. But that's not always available because I don't have a swimming pool in my backyard. So I need to go to the gym or some kind of recreation center in order to swim. And with COVID out there right now, I'm not going to the gym or anywhere else. So I can't really use that one. So I use reading, writing, other creative things, and the movies. And I exercise because I like exercise. Most people don't like exercise, and I typically don't use that word. I'll typically say physical activity, meaning move your body. You don't have to call it exercise. It doesn't have to be, 30, 40 minutes, 60 minutes, but move your body. Get some physical activity. Physical activity helps your mind and your emotions. So those are just some examples of positive coping strategies. So when you think of positive coping strategies, even if the ones I gave you aren't for you, think of, are they helpful to you? Meaning basically the opposite of negative. They won't hurt you. They're helpful to you. Is it helpful to somebody else? Meaning it's not harmful to anyone else. Like if you do this coping strategy, will it negatively affect anyone? And is it temporary or is it permanent? Is it something that you can continue to do that won't cause lasting negative effects on you or anyone else? So swimming is only going to strengthen my body. I have asthma, so it helps me with my lung capacity. So it's good for my body as far as exercise, and it's good for my respiratory system because I have a compromised respiratory system. So in the long run, for me, if I swim on a regular basis, it's only going to help me. It's not going to hurt me. So writing is something that's never going to hurt me unless I get carpal tunnel or something from overdoing it. And then I can just rest, or I can fix that. I can remedy that. So ultimately, writing, especially if I'm typing, is really never going to hurt me or anyone else. And oftentimes what I do with my writing is put it into book format and put it out there for the public so that it helps someone. So think about your coping strategies, and if it can be helpful, if not just for you, if somebody is for someone else as well. It can be definitely just for you, pertaining to your self-care. I often tell my clients to go to the park and swing. Go to the park and walk around. Look at what's out there in nature. That's not going to hurt anybody or you, and it's going to get you out into some fresh air, and that's going to be good for your body. So when you think about your positive coping strategies, think about something that you can do on a regular basis that won't harm you or anyone else, and likely doesn't cost you a whole lot of money, so that you can do it often. Because what you want to get in the habit of doing with your positive coping strategies is doing it on a regular, consistent basis, so that you don't allow the negativity of this world to build up on you. If you're consistent with your positive coping strategies, even when life happens, it doesn't take you out. You know how to function. Your capacity is there for you. You can take on things because you're releasing things with your coping strategies. So again, think about whether your coping strategies are non-existent and you're just living off of mechanisms. You're just white knuckling it, hanging on, trying to make it through, which is stressful. If that's where you are, it's time for you to learn how to switch. If your coping strategies are negative, the ones I named in this video or other ones, think about that. Because ultimately you're harming yourself, you're harming someone else, and it's temporary. You're going to need to do it over and over again to keep satisfying that thing, and it's not really helping you. You may feel like it is because what you're doing is numbing your emotions, numbing your thoughts and feelings, but they eventually come back. You can't leave your brain somewhere else. Your mind and your emotions go with you everywhere you go, even to the bathroom. You don't get away from them. So numbing them is not going to be ultimately helpful. So if you're in the negative category, think about how to replace those negative coping strategies with positive. And it can be anything you want. I named a few for you because those are the ones that work for me. Not everybody is the same. So think about what's helpful for you. what's helpful for someone else. And what may be temporary in the moment, but even if you have to repeat it over and over again, which you should be doing your coping strategies, your positive coping strategies on a regular basis, just to keep you at a certain level of peace. So think about things that you can implement in your life that will give you peace, that still won't harm anyone or yourself. So I will be back with you soon to give you some more tips on coping strategies and different things. But if you like what you're hearing, remember to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, put some comments in so I know what kind of content you like. And if you want to tell me what your coping strategies are, if you want to get some more tips on how you can change some of your coping strategies if they're negative, or gain some if they're non-existent, put that in the comments. I'll be back with you soon, but until then, be proactive about your mental health, be well, and God bless.